The avatar of this age has already incarnated in human form. His name this time is Meher Baba. I am the one remembered in the past as the Messiah, the Savior, the Rezel. Look forward to in the future with great fervor and longing, and hardly recognize in the present anyway that takes the time to look at his life and words, when Ale will inevitably realize who he is and what he stands, and stated in his silence was true. And the inevitable in its very essence. When the word breaks out of my silence and speaks to your heart, telling you who I really am, then you will know. That is the word you have always been longing to hear. God's word cannot be uttered until technology and despair have reached an apex. Avatar Meher Baba. And that was sent to me by our good friend Jamie Hillary Rubis. And there are many avatars on our planet right at this moment, right? I myself am your griot, your Sensei Owl Bob, right here to tell you a story. So we're going to do a little guided meditation. And yesterday we did one, and I think a number of you enjoyed it. I would love comments, right? That on that comment little thing, that'd be very nice. And I'd love some thumbs up. And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your sensei, Al Bob, your griot here to tell you a story. So things are getting to be whatever they are, meaning I've been around long enough. This ain't any more screwy, scary, weird than, you know, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, as Hamlet would say. Good old Shakespeare. And everyone's so uptight about trans whatever. What about Shakespeare? No one seemed to get too upset in the Globe Theater when Romeo and Juliet were tonguing it and they were both guys. Did they have to go to different bathrooms? No. You read Chaucer's, uh, you know, wife of Bath's Tale. I mean, she's pretty graphic. Did they ban that from the library? No. Right? What matters is love co-creation. And Meher Baba was truly a person who could be in silence and manifest God's unconditional love. Meaning, he's not God per se, especially in his avatar form. We're all God, If you read the Bible, it goes on and on and on about how we are made in the image and likeness. And John and Peter all talk about how we're God. And everyone seems to miss the point that Jesus never went anywhere. He's still here. Otherwise, we'd be toast. So that is the real issue, the real interesting thing. Wake up, right? And Baba said it wasn't until I don't think he was talking about transhumanism, which was, it was already spoken to in the Bible, in Hebrew, in the esoteric Hebrew. Uh, they talk about golems, right? And that's transhumanism. That's like a robot made out of clay to protect the Hebrew nation, and so I mean, it's all right in front of us. We are right now celebrating the Abraham traditional holidays, the Hebrew, Christian, and Islam. Islam, everyone has been in fasting during the day, Ramadan. Right? And Israel is, this is one of their high holy days, right? And Easter Sunday is not really the whoop-de-doo of it all. It's really that period from Palm Sunday. That's why I always have these with me to remind me of Jesus Christ's Palm Sunday. Because from Palm Sunday to him coming out of, from Palm Sunday to when he died on the cross and he said, "And it is done," or "it is finished," meaning there was a whole bucket list of things that needed to be clicked off, click, 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 right? And from the point of when Jesus walked, rode on into, Palestine on a donkey, and it was like the red carpet of palm fronds, and that was, one of the things that was stated that, hey, the Messiah would ride in that way as a Prince of Peace, right? And everything he did, washing the boys. When Peter said, "Oh," or I don't know whether it was John or Peter said, "No, no, Rabbi, don't wash my feet," and that's when Christ said, "Really? Well, then get behind me, Satan." Meaning, if you don't have faith in what I am, then forget about it, right? Get out of here, right? And so, all through the whole that that about 48 hours, 72-hour period, he did about 100 things where he just clicked off the boxes. So when he died, he had completed everything, right? It is done, right? And when he said, "Oh, Father, why have thou forsaken me?" It's because, Jesus is God, right? So when he was in that, he was talking about himself in the human form. And God the Father was so upset with watching how he was suffering on the cross that he turned his back. But not really, because all of this was foretold. This was all known. This was like, Jesus was the bride, and this was the wedding per se, right? And basically, Adam and Eve, once they left the garden, they were forgiven. They just had, because they had a free will, had to go through a great deal of suffering. And in the Old Testament, there was a lot of, you know, in Moses' 10 Commandments, "Thou shalt not kill." Really, it doesn't say that in Hebrew, in Greek, Sumerian. It says, "Thou shalt not murder." With, what do they call that? I mean, you're not supposed to murder anyone with your ego, right? And there's a term for it. It's slipping my mind. With utmost prejudice or complete prejudice or something of that nature. So I want you. That was little filler to have you thinking about all of that I just said in the last 9 minutes. Right now, as we move towards 10 minutes and 10 seconds, we're preparing, just like Esther. She was the mother of Israel, There were a lot, there were the Jewish tribe, the Hebrew tribes, and they were all over the place. They're all, kind of, separate, but part of each other. But it wasn't until Esther, and she prepared as the priestess of the temple, and caught the eye of Zoroaster, of the king of Persia, the number one king, the most powerful king in all of Persia's history. And she did the little dance until he kind of said, "I want not just, hey, let's go to bed. I want you to be my queen. You're more than a hot honey. You're more than good looking. You are loves co-creation, and I want to do that with you. So here we go. Prepare. Breathe in deep. Focus your conscious mind on your breath. Breathe it in as well you can, and then breathe it out. And you evacuate all the toxins from your body. Breathing in the prana from Father Sky and filling your lungs. And your lungs on that side that inject that prana into your blood, into the hemoglobin. And that hemoglobin goes all through your body and goes to every cell and energizes and brings it alive. And I want you to visualize you're looking through, you pricked a little bit of blood, put it on a glass slide, put it in a microscope, and you're looking at your blood. And you see, you got three powers. You get the big picture, and there are a whole bunch of blood cells that are glowing. They look like little round balls, and they're glowing and they're vibrating, and they just look unbelievably alive. And then there's like along on this side a bunch of crap. It's just like black and gooey, and those are the dead cells, right? And they're dead because your soul is not alive. You're just going through the motions. Even if you go to church, you're just going through the motions. But if you bring, love's co-creation, the prana of God into your lungs, and you energize your hemoglobin, and you send that to every cell, and then you bring the damaged cells. That you take that look, because the cells are going to stay there, but the toxins can come out in that interesting, and that is what alchemy is when you're bringing in the prana, which is photonic light. It's not incandescent. There are no shadows. So you breathe it into your lungs. Your lungs inject that prana into your blood, into your hemoglobin. The hemoglobin goes all through your body, heals all those dead cells, carries away the toxins, right? And that's what the blue blood is the toxins, right? Is the death, the living death. And you breathe it out. And you evacuate all of that angst, all that anger, all that sorrow, all that self-loathing, all of it. You just let it out of your body. See it clearly, right? See that process of healing. And as that prana goes into your body, not only does it go into hemoglobin, your body's an electrochemical device. It connects to the chi, Mother Earth, and it creates that circuit. And it's that energy that Meher Baba talks about. That is what Meher Baba talks about is love, right? That Jesus talks about is love and forgiveness. And God is that unconditional love, right? In progress. He's not, we are, and through the Bible, Peter and John and a whole bunch of those monkeys talk about how we are God, right? The living God, right? And we are. But we're so unconscious that we forget about it. And we get involved and distracted in stupid stuff like, how am I going to pay my bills? I want that car. I want money. I want my wife. I want this. I want that. Oh God, help me. I need to, I want. No. Thank you, Lord, for everything you've given me. Thank you, Jesus, for allowing me to see your unconditional forgiveness so I can forgive myself and all those around. And I, in every day and every way, take that piece of the earth that is that Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. That's me, right? And I make it stronger through my actions. And my actions aren't some kind of, oh, you know, transactional thing. If I do this, then I'm going to heaven. No, can't buy your way into heaven with good actions. Your good actions are you do them because you want to do them. You do them because they make you feel good. Why do I do all the stuff I do? Because it makes me feel good. Why, when people truly are annoying, who do things that I just see that are dangerous and bad, and have no, I do not try to judge. Right? Don't judge them. The actions I may judge because I may have to navigate them or interact with them, and so I have to understand them. And so I deconstruct the action and see where it's coming from, what its motivation is, what all the characteristics are. Right. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. We're in a guided meditation. Everyone's breathing in deep, focusing their conscious mind on God's unconditional love and that breath, and breathing in God's unconditional love, which is that prana. Goes in, goes into your lungs. The lungs, inject that prana into your hemoglobin. Hemoglobin every cell, heals every cell. You're looking through that little microscope of your imaginary mirror into your blood, and like there are all these great, amazing, alive, alive, alive. It's alive, uh, just like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And that book is the modern marvel of a novel, not because it's sci-fi. No, Dr. Frankenstein, or the book Frankenstein, is a book about a bad father. Half the parents on this planet shouldn't have children, right? Because basically all they do is traumatize them. You know, they confuse them. They don't give them the same insights over, the same thing. All a child wants. A child is like a dog. All a child wants is continuity of environment. Don't one day smack me around for doing something and then I do the same thing and then you hug me and say I'm cute. It's like, and don't treat me like less. I'm not the other. I'm a spirit, I'm a soul, I'm all our relations. See it clearly. So Mayor Baba is, basically a avatar of love's co-creation, and so are you. But Mayor Baba is conscious of what is going on in its consciousness all the time, where I'm not. I'm a lucky bastard. I'm Griot. I'm your sensei. I'm here to tell you a story and help you, you know, access your better self, right? And so that's what I'm here to do. And what you need to do is be consciously aware of everything. You're 360 and you're 20. That you're stepping on the right thing at the right time, the right place. See it clearly. And no matter what you're doing it, washing the dishes, combing your hair, whatever, do it in a conscious way that you are in co-creation with God's love. Now, I'm itinerant scholar. I can get myself stuck in little things because I, know the word God, God, is, basically that force, that is that unconditional, that is, and I like to call God the burning bush because really that is the most clearest representation within our historical and aesthetic, um, cultural aesthetic, of what the prime mover is, right? Fire. Right? So, and the burning bush was on fire, but it wasn't consuming the bush, right? When the burning bush stopped burning, it was still a bush, right? And the burning bush did not say, I am who I am. Only Popeye says that, right? The burning bush said, I am a work in progress, and you are, meaning me, you, everybody else, all our relations, is a reflection of God. And so when we were in the Garden of Eden, that was like the easy bake oven, right? And so we could stay there forever, but what are you going to do? It's like me, I could stay here for the rest of my life, but what am I going to just sit around and watch the grass grow? No, I'm going to find, um, I'm going to follow the path that love's co-creation puts down for me in every day in every way. Right? So I'm letting it show me what it is. Right? I'm preparing myself like Esther. Right? When she had, married the king of Persia, the great king Zoroaster of Persia, and she was a a priestess of the temple. He said, "Boy, she's cute." But then he started talking to her and said, "Boy, she's smart. Boy, she's really she's in flow. Right? She's in that level of consciousness that I want to be." So he says, "Will you be my queen?" So she became the second most powerful person in the biggest empire on the planet at that time, right? And so she, the king she was his number one advisor, right? And all the other advisors in the courtesan were happy that she was there because she was the intermediary. So she could take their ideas to the king in such a way that if it didn't pan out, they did not get whacked, right? Because she brought it to him. And if it worked out really good, she would give the credit where the credit was due. So everyone in the court was like, this she's one in a million. I love this lady. Right? She is my queen. That's what my queen, right? So, and what did she do? What was her number one thing? She prepared. She took the time to let God, and I will use that word when it's historically appropriate, um, to Yazuz. There are a lot of names, um, but she followed the prime mover's will and wishes, and served. Right? It wasn't about, oh, it's about me. It's about me. No, it's about the we in me. In all our relations are the reflection of you, God, and I serve whatever I do as Esther. I do in service to you, and I'm not doing it because I want to, get some coinage in the bank, and that's what the rabbis were doing. That's why there were money changers there. They were running it as a business, a transactional thing with God. That's why all through the Old Testament there are all these sacrifices because it was the blood that was being spilled as the Vic in Las Vegas terms, um, to pay God off, right? No, God was unconditionally, God was loving Adam and Eve before they even broke the pact, right? Because he meant them to. So they would be out of the easy bake oven and out in that cold, cruel world they were avatars, right? And everything that happened from there on in was a manifestation of the creation of Yehuman, all our relations, the mirror, the imaginary mirror right behind your eyelids. There's 8 billion little imaginary mirrors on this planet right now, and the burning bush is seeing its reflection in all of them. So that's where we're at, and you are right now in a shamanic state, right? And that's what a griot does, tells a story, and the listener just kind of goes right into it, right? So one, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. You are seated. Don't be driving your car doing this. You are seated in a comfortable place. You are lying down in a comfortable place, however it is. See it clearly. You know, open up your mind, open up your heart, Open up your mind to the consciousness of unconditional forgiveness. Open up your heart to the free will of love's co-creation. That you do this. I mean, everything I do because it's not that I may say, hey, throw something into PayPal. Well, that'd be nice, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I know I'm serving love's co-creation by doing this. And when I make the burning bush happy, it makes me happy, right? When I help you get a grip on what your issue is, and I'm here for you guys, right? And so make yesterday's live chat was very nice. We had some nice comments. We had a nice little thing going on. So how many? There's two of you there. So want somebody jump in. Anyone know about Mayor Baba? Anyone have a experience of Mayor Baba? Does anyone, are you a born again Christian? A true one. Not just an advertised one, but one that really reads the Bible, right, and doesn't use it as a hammer, right? It uses it as a lens. The tool that the Bible is a lens, right? And the rabbis read. That's why the Torah, the Old Testament, was in a scroll because they just rolled it out and they read it continuously, and they had a little pointer. And I don't know how. I went to Lubavitcher, a rabbi school, and I studied all things rabbiness, but I was definitely the Kabbalah. I was definitely an esoteric student of the Torah. Anyway, so they wear a whole getup, a garb, right, a cloak, and they have this little piece of wood on their head, and it's tied on there. And it's tied in such a way so their neck can only move a certain place. And when they look, ooh, I just pretty amazing. I just felt that muscle right here. That when I would read the Torah that way with that little block of wood on my head, and my little pointer, you get this. That's why the string's there to kind of hold your head and your neck and your shoulders and your chest all in one place, because otherwise you couldn't focus. Right? I just had a muscle memory of that, which is kind of cool. I last time I was in Lubavitcher, it was 1977, so it was like 70, 87, 97, 2007, 17. That's 40 years, right? So it's going on 50 years, right? 40 something years, right? 17 plus 75, 45 years ago. And I just had that muscle memory of reading the Torah. And that is what spiritual life is, because that was a long time ago. And, I don't live in the past, but my muscles still remember stuff, right? Especially things of that nature, right? That everything that is I am connected to love's co-creation is still there. I mean, I have memories of being born, and I survived because of love's co-creation. I remember that, and being brought up. Those first 4 years was constant. I was fed on love's co-creation. I did not stay at my parents' house because it was so toxic. I stayed with my grandma, and her upstairs neighbor was a black woman, Mamo, and she had 6 kids, and she had a little girl that was about 3 months older than I was, and she and I shared Mamo's breasts, right? So I was fed. That's why I'm African American. That's melanin challenged, because I was brought up as a black child, because there was those 6 kids. They were my brothers and sisters, more than my Freudenscheid, you know, Weasley brothers and sisters that are all based on. I love them dearly, but my sister was going on about something about she was going on about when one of her daughters got married, And that, she goes, I was looking at pictures of it, and boy, you were really dressed up. I said, oh, I was. Oh, I can do that. She goes, no, I'm being sarcastic. You look like a bum, meaning, uh, you know, at that point, I was kind of a bum. And, I was in another part of the United States and I didn't have a car and I rode the rails to go to my sister's youngest daughter's wedding. And uh, I had taken pictures of her, um, and I basically made a collage. And then I wrote this thing that was about love and what a relationship is and what marriage is, right? And I was using 9/11 as a metaphor when two are together, and even if they fall. Anyway, I wrote this really nice thing, and I had about 20, and it was like a what do you call those? A placemat, right? It was 11 by 14, and it had about it was a collage with about 20 pictures of my parents and this girl's brothers and sisters and my oldest sister and all of their siblings and cousins and all the Christmases, and this nice beautiful collage of all of that love. And then this thing I wrote about love and relationships and marriage and all of that. And I gave it to all of her and her parents-in-law and her brothers and sisters-in-law and my sister and all her kids and my sister's best friends. And so she didn't even remember that, right? And so, you know, the marriage was on the Brooklyn Bridge, and then we had dinner in an Italian restaurant. But there was a big party in their backyard a couple days later, which was like the wedding. It had a band and the whole thing, right? And people were dancing and food and tables and that's where I gave out those things. And my sister, I don't remember that. You didn't do that. You have your own reality. It's like, okay. So I basically did this and gave it to everyone, and everyone looked at, oh, it's so beautiful. And pretty much everyone, my sister didn't read the back, and neither did her kids. Neither did the wife, the husband, though the groom. He read it. He gave me a big kiss on each cheek and a hug, and he goes, "Yeah, man, you're all right, right." So, and I used to go visit them, but all of the kids her children that I kind of took care of for about 8 years because her husband just left her for a 19-year-old secretary and then was missing in action for a while, right? And so those kids needed a male essence. I was it. I didn't have issues like other members of that family had, and and I worked in nightclubs, and I was in Madison Square Garden's ME. I was a local three guy and a Naboth guy, IATSE guy. So all of those big shows, I would go in and make sure everything was ship shape. I didn't run shows. I used to, but I didn't. It was past that. Anyway, but over the years, I would bring those kids to shows they wanted to go see. They wanted to go see the Rolling Stones. I put them on stage, and then they went to the party afterwards and stuff like that. And my godson, when he got married, he said to me, if I have children, I don't want you to have anything to do with them. I said, what are you talking about? Look at you. Because that's what I'm talking about. I said, you don't want me to be involved? He said, well, you showed me things and I said, so that made you who you are, why you are a guy you are, why you are getting married, why you know, and that's the problem with most mud puppets is that they have judgments. And when that's the problem with religion because it's not based on Jesus or Allah or Buddha or Mayor Baba or anybody of those guys. It's based on advertisement of a product, right? And that's pretty much what religion is product, right? It's your product you use to weasel your way into the golden gates covered in pearls, um, gated community of heaven. Well, that's not heaven. Sorry, heaven's right here. Heaven's like, you know, all around you. Open up your eyes. Wake up. Right. And one, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. And you're seeing all of that I'm talking to you, all of the prana going into your body, all of your cells being healed, all of the understanding of relationships with love's co creation, and that your responsibility isn't some kind of job. Your responsibility to love's co creation is to, with your free will, experience and express that love openly and freely without any reservations. See that clearly. When you do that, as you're looking through that little microscope in the reflection of the imaginary mirror, right, of your blood, right, look how, as I talk about this, there are less and less of those gooey, black, dead spiritual cells in your body. And there's more and more and more of those beautiful pearls, those blue, effervescent, photonically lit, no shadows. I mean, there are billions of these little circles all lit up, vibrating, and it's lighting up all the space around it. And there are no shadows. Whereas those black, gooky blood cells of your dead life, that you're living now, that your job, your, you know, you know, you're waiting for the weekend so you can get drunk, or waking and get home because you're such an alcoholic that you got to drink and self medicate yourself every freaking night. No, if you know anything about a 12-step program, it's love creation that goes in there. I mean, there's the only thing that gets you off of addiction is love's co-creation. The only thing that saved my freaking life, right? I mean, I weighed almost 600 pounds. And no one ever called me fat. I mean, I could dance, I could skip, I could move like, Liberace and Frank Sinatra and what's his name? Who's the dancing guy with the pretty girl? Whatever his name is. Better than Gene Kelly, right? At 560 pounds. So it took me to die in a plate of spaghetti and and go to my life, you know. And no one said, "Oh, you're fat. Oh, you lost. You're stupid. You're a sinner. Gluttony." No, man, no. All of my um, masters, and when I say master, master is a teacher, a high teacher, right? I'm a teacher. I'm a sensei. I'm not a master. I'm a sensei, right? So, and I'm a sensei, and I'm a griot. So that's one little step up above, just because that's my tool is to tell you a story, right? And that's what all this is a story, right? And so, whereas the elevated masters, like Mayor Baba, he's a illuminated avatar, right? And he was an avatar of a lesson, right? And Jesus was more than an he was that above what an avatar, a master of a lesson is like. He's like God. And again, I hate that. Take, it's almost my ego that gets caught up in using that word. So again, the burning. So Jesus was love's co-creation's unconditional forgiveness. And that burning bush was Jesus. Jesus has always been here before. When everything is dark, bang. And what's interesting is that Jesus and Satan are like twins. The first angel was Lucifer, right? The illuminated one. He's so pretty. The burning bush's number one angel, right? Taking care of business. He was the CEO, right? Chief COE, no, CEO, Operating Officer, Chief Operating Officer. Anyway, COO, who knows? I know nothing. Don't believe a word I say. Ow. Two, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. You're sitting in a comfortable chair. You're lying down. You are safe. You're not operating any heavy equipment, right? Not doing anything that could get you um, in danger in this illusionary world of the ego. So see it clearly, right? Feel love's co-creation and serve your higher self, right? See that mana illuminating your body. And now take that illumination and you walk through your imaginary mirror, and there you are. You're in your Akashic record. Everything's made out of big books. You look around, you see the big fireplace, you see the comfy chairs with a coffee table to entertain friends, and behind that is your reading table with a photonic light, and to the left is your guides. See your guides, your librarian, your animal totem, your guardian angel. Look at your librarian, see your librarian, really, really see your librarian. To the left of your librarian's animal totem, your totem pole, right? See your animal totem. Your animal totem is also a griot, right? Because your librarian will bring your Akashic record. You'll look in there, and there's everything you'd ever want to know is in there, right? But you may not understand it. Maybe you're not in the flow enough to get it. With practice, that's going to be a problem. Because the big screen has the big picture, and there's 28 little screens that have 28 different dimensions, meaning ways of looking at it, right? And still you may not get it totally. You turn to your animal totem and say, "So fill me in on this." Animal totem will tell you a story like I do, and you'll go, "Oh, I get it now," right? So that's what your animal totem's for. And your guardian angel is always got your back. I mean, just think of all the things. Like one time I was going to my dentist who worked, his office was kind of right on Fifth Avenue and 34th Street, right where the library is, right? The big New York City library, right? And I took the 7 train, got off there, went upstairs, and it's like on 7th Avenue. So I walked and they have all of these book carols. And there's the big library, and in the other half of that big space that's like a park is a park, and there's all these benches and little tables and trees to give you shade and fountains, and it's really a nice little park. And they have all these carols. I don't know if they still do, but they had all these carols that guys could show up there with a card table and sell books. So they were, all the way around the library. It was about 200, 300 people selling books. And I got off and I'm walking up 34th Street to where my dentist is. It's like, I got about 10 minutes to get there. So I take a moment, but I'm on the subway. We get up at 34th Street. The subway door is open. I get out. About 20, 30 people get out there, and about 10 go up the street to go to 7th Avenue and 34th Street. And then I'm one of those 10, and I turn, and I'm going up 34th Street, along 34th Street, going up towards 5th Avenue. And there's about 6 people, right? The other 4 went some another direction. But there's 6 of us, and we're all like shoulder to shoulder, walking up, and it's a big, wide avenue sidewalk. It's like 40-foot wide sidewalk, and there are all these book guys here, and benches to the park, and paths into the park. And anyway, so I'm going, and I'm walking these. I'm halfway there, and I should be not dallying, but I stop and I see, oh, look at that book. I pick it up and I'm looking at it, and I'm going, and I start reading it, and all of a sudden I hear a screeching of tires, the screaming of people, and the crashing of vehicles, right? And others screaming and crashing, right? And what has happened is there's a bus coming up 34th Street and it was turning onto Fifth Avenue to go downtown. And the bus driver had a heart attack. And so he slumped on the wheel. He was turning. And so the bus was turning, but not, in control. And his foot went down on the gas. So instead of slowing down or stopping, it was going and it smashed into a vehicle and took out everyone who was walking across the side, walking across Fifth Avenue, right? And if I hadn't stopped for that book, I would have been in that bunch of people that got mowed down. And then the bus kept going and mowed down a whole bunch of people on the sidewalk and then smashed into a street light and kind of knocked his foot off the gas. And someone in the bus ran up there and put it in neutral and turned off the motor. Someone in the bus was consciously aware. So anyway, it killed about 20 people, right? And I would have been one of them if I hadn't stopped to read that book. And that's what is being in the flow of love's co-creation. I was not supposed to die that day. So I ran up and, I was like, what can I do? And you know, I had some training, but I didn't have the training I do now. And so, cause I wasn't an EMT yet, I had started working in a hospital. So I had some training, but I had no anything. So I kind of took my shirt off and, ripped it up. And, when people had, I put tourniquets and covered, meaning if you haven't, sliced a vein or an artery, but you got a rip in your arm, if you push that together and wrap it up to like hold it together, that's good enough until the ambulance guy shows up. So I did that to about 10 people. And, you know, I took their, who's dead. I was kind of doing triage. And, within 10 minutes, I showed up. I mean, that I was doing not 10 minutes, about 5 minutes. The ambulances showed up. Those guys showed up and they saw me what I was doing. And this one guy kind of said, "Come here, buddy." And so I came, and he says, "Here, wash your hands off," because I was like covered in blood. So he kind of washed me off, and he said, he took his little light into my eyes, and he took my pulse, he took my blood pressure, and he said, "Well, you're not in shock, so that's good." So, do you have training? I said, "Well, I've worked in hospitals, and I have." He said, "Well, you've done a very good job here. We got it from here. And here's my card. Want to talk to me? I'd love to talk to you." And so I said, "Okay." So that was a guy I would become friends with, a fireman. He was a lieutenant and became a fire chief. Anyway, so he gave me a shirt, a kind of fireman shirt, So I put that on. He kind of cleaned me off, toweled me off, sent me on my way. He gave me a soda too. He said, "Here, drink this. It'll help you." So I did. And so I was about 20 minutes late, but when I got up there, my dentist and everyone was looking at the window and they saw me because I was like, no more than, I don't know, 100 yards, from that window down to Fifth Avenue because they were like in the middle. Just, they were like four buildings from Fifth Avenue. So they saw me. So they said, "Wow, that was amazing what you did." I said, "Well, what did I do?" I said, "I'm a little hazy on it." And my dentist, he said, "Here." And he put me in a chair. He put the nitrous oxide thing on my nose. And he said, "You sit here for however long it takes for you to get really relaxed." And so I did. So, he x-rayed my teeth. He filled a little cavity while I was on another planet, came back. And by that time, I had been under the nitrous oxide for a good long time. And he kept blasting me with oxygen, like 200% oxygen, and then nitrous oxide, 200% oxygen. Right. So I was like not feeling any pain. And he took me out to dinner, which was quite nice. So that was, that is following your grace, right? Following your flow of love's co-creation and being in service, right? And not all my life is that, movie bound, but pretty much every day when I leave here, I interact with people on a level that helps them. And it's a co-creation. It's not just me like, I'm not Jesus. I don't bring people. I don't do. I do little miracles. It's a great book you should read. It's called Course in Miracles, and I think you might find that interesting. Let's see what time it is. 5:20. So you're now in state, right? And you are in your Akashic records, right? And I want you to sit down there. Your librarian brings you a book. You open it up, two blank pages. Put your right hand on the right page. And it's a big book. It's a big book. So one hand there, one there, and then and you evacuate all of the darkness, all those little dead cells that you exist on, right? And now it's swimming around on those pages, right? And it's like a live Rorschach check. And as it's swimming around, it stops, and you go, "What's that?" And then "What's that?" And now, after you've seen a number of those images, close the book. Boom. You open it up, and now it's a big screen with 28 little screens around it. And each one of those, you know, snapshots of the Rorschach goo of your evacuation of your negative energy, you can see what they are, right? And I'm going to leave you with those. And they are in your Akashic record, and you now see how to get there. And you can leave anytime you want. You just get up from your reading table, turn around, and walk through that imaginary mirror, and you'll be sitting in that chair, and you'll be kind of waking up. You'll be lying down, kind of, oh yeah, and you'll feel really good. You feel refreshed. You feel renewed because you breathed in all that prana. And you've had this experience, this shamanic experience, right? And you've had the alchemical um, um, dynamic of love's co-creation, meaning where all of your cells have been super energized by love's co-creation of that prana, and you've been, you know, electrically connected to the ground, right, through your chi. See it clearly. Okay, let's see how much time we got left. Oh, good. We have a good deal. So I'm gonna leave you now. You can stay there and get more insight. Again, you got your librarian to bring you any other book you need. You got your animal totem there to tell you a griot story, and you don't have to worry about anything. Your guardian angels got your back all the frigging time. So I told you a story about the library, not the, because you're in your Akashic record, and I told you about the New York Library and getting up the subway, and I would have been smushed by the bus, but my guardian angel had my back. And I'm sure there have been many times that you just about step in a street, and for some reason you didn't. Car flew by. If you had stepped, that would have been it for you. You've been riding a bike and woo, and but you didn't. You fell into a bush where you just got a little scraped up instead of really badly hurt. You fell off a cliff and you got a little bumped and bruised, but didn't break anything. You're all good. And if you did break a bone or did have a serious injury, you came out the other side and you realized some great. I mean, I was a really sick little kid till I was 10 when I said, "That's it. I am not getting sick any frigging more. Period." And so I didn't till I died when I was 64 years old. So anyway, um, ah, so I hope you enjoyed this. Get a hold of me at the dudeawake42 at Gmail. I would stay here longer, but no one's making any comments, so I'm just gonna go because I'm getting a little hungry. I just had breakfast, and I made a really nice stew and a really nice because I was cleaning up the house. One of the reasons I clean up the house is because there are vegetables that I kind of, oh look, I had these, and they usually when I find them, like I found some peppers that are like maybe a month old, but they have like got to the point where I can slice them up and they'll be really yummy, right? Yeah, there's some rotting parts, but not, mostly not rotting. And that makes that pepper really amazingly tasty, especially when you cook it well. So that's a little, that's my cooking step. So I have no money for food, so I basically get things out of the dumpster, and people throw unbelievable yummy things. I mean, the step when oh, these bananas, they're all black. Well, that's when they're the best. That's when I use them in oatmeal, right? And the oatmeal, oh, it's like crusty on the top. Well, you clean that out of the container, and the other 3/4 of the oatmeal is still fine, right? You know, as dry, right. So anyway, that's kind of how I eat. That's how I live on $400. Jesus says, a poor man is a lot easier getting to heaven than. And I don't do that as a transactional thing. No, it's just because whatever extra I have, I want to give to people who need it more than I do. Right. So I don't buy things. Right. Because I don't have any money. But if you want to give me some money in the PayPal, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. Dude awake 42 at Gmail. I love it. Right. And it still seems to be there. I've checked, I went and looked at it and went through it, and it seems to still work. I haven't put any money. Somebody put some money in there, so I know. The last time somebody put some money in it was about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. No one put anything there for Sensei Al Bob for Christmas, or and Sensei Al Bob's birthday, or Easter. But that's okay because love's co-creation facilitates my life quite well. And I know something exciting and interesting is going to happen, and whatever finances I need, like when I went on the BOP, it was quite interesting. I um, basically stopped at a lot of places and talked to people, and they gave me money. Right? I didn't ask for it, but they gave me money. I gave them readings, read their palms, their cards, or other stuff. Showed, did guided meditations. And it was kind of fun, and that's what I do, right? And so, and everyone who I did that with, it so affected them in like, wow. And when they have that experience, God's co-creation is there, and the burning bush is very happy when people have that relevance, and that's what Mayor Baba is about. He's that relevance all the time. Jesus is there, has been there from forever, and from Alpha to the Omega. Jesus, that's our friend, right? And if you can live in Jesus's unconditional forgiveness, first forgiving yourself for all the stupid stuff you do, but it's it's just your lesson. Now, yeah, that 10 Commandments, all those sins, you kind of have to put them in context. And one day we'll go through them, but they aren't, as everything in the Bible is a metaphor. They aren't. I mean, what's interesting about the Bible is that it is as plain as the nose on your face, right? Yet it's all a metaphor. So it's an interesting dynamic. So, oh, I love you all, and in silence, you heal, you feel, you love, you are all our relations. And I'll probably see you tomorrow.